Hello, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It is time for an all new round of speed reviews. So we're going to be ranking all the makeup I tried in September. So I am filming this at the very end of September. So if there are any products that you have seen me try very recently that are not in this video, they will be in my speed reviews at the end of October. I just need a little bit more time to play with some of them. I like to try everything quite a few times before I put them in my speed reviews, just so I can feel very confident in my opinion. Complexion products definitely take the longest for me to test out, but if there's anything missing, you know why. It will be in next month's. But let's get into it. We have 18 products to talk about, and coming in at number 18 is actually from Nars. So this is part of their 24 karat collection for holiday, and I did review most of the pieces in this collection. So this is the Gold Dust Light Reflecting Setting Powder Press. So this is just their light reflecting pressed powder, but this is in the shade Gold Dust. So this is supposed to be like a gold dust all over the face. I don't like this. I don't like this even a little bit. I have tried to like it, and I just think that I'm just not the audience. I picked this up because I wasn't sure if this was supposed to be like an Hourglass finishing powder kind of product or what exactly it's meant to be. For me, this looks way more like a targeted highlight. It's just that this definitely does have glitter particles in it. So if you put this all over your face, you're gonna get little shimmer particles everywhere. And the sound of it sounds nice. Gold dust all over the face sounds lovely, but it just doesn't look good on me. I don't want glitter all over my face. But also, I'm just really fair. So maybe that is why the gold just does not work for me. I wanted to like this. I just really don't. For me, this is definitely more of a targeted highlight, and it's just way too expensive for something I'm going to use as a targeted highlight. This does retail for 54 Canadian dollars. So that's just a little too much. Coming in at number 17 is a cream bronzer I've actually been trying since August. It just confused me a lot, so I really needed to spend some extra time with this one. And this is from Ilia. This is their Sun Shift Cream Bronzer in the shade Eclipse. So I do love a cream bronzer. I really do. I think the packaging on this is really nice. And this looks lovely. I don't think they have a lot of shades in this formula. What got me about this one, and this is going to sound crazy because I am very fair skinned, and I've said many times that bronzers that have more of a pinky red undertone are definitely more flattering on me because I do have a cooler undertone. But this one is just too pinky red, and I just don't think it looks flattering. I was so excited to have a cream bronzer that has that sort of undertone. The Westman Atelier cream bronzer stick has more of that red undertone, and it is so flattering. But this, it's just too much. It's also pretty glowy. The formula's fine. It's long wearing. It blends very easily. It feels nice on the skin, but the issue with this one really just comes down to the tone. It's just a really strange color in my opinion, and it definitely looks a little strange on me. So I don't love this. From this point on, these are not bad products. But coming at number 16 is from Makeup by Mario, and this is the Surreal Skin Soft Setting Spray. I don't hate this. I don't mind it at all. I think the packaging's beautiful. The mister on this one is really nice as well. And it definitely does feel hydrating on the face, but it's a little bit of a pricey setting spray, and I just don't feel like it's doing anything. Like when I use my Charlotte Tilbury, which is my favorite setting spray, that one I know for sure is giving me a little hydration, but that one is locking in my makeup. That one is making me budge proof. This one, I just don't know that it's doing anything. I really don't know that it extends the wear of my makeup. It does give me a nice boost of hydration, but when I'm going for setting spray, it's because I want it to lock in and sort of melt everything together. And I do think this maybe help to melt everything together, but I just really don't know that it's actually doing anything else for my makeup. Coming in at number 15 is a concealer. This is from Victoria Beckham by Augustinus Bader. So this is a concealer that came out at the very beginning of the month. This is a very pricey concealer. I have mine in the shade FL1, and this one retails for 68 US dollars or 96 Canadian. So very pricey. And I believe it's the collab with Augustinus Bader that drove up that price point, because this is supposed to have a lot of really great skincare ingredients. So this is a click up pen. It does have more of a brush applicator, and on the face it is incredibly lightweight. It is very easy to blend. The shade FL1 is a great match for me. It definitely brightens my under eyes, and like I said, it is very, very lightweight. It's a very thin formula, and it looks really nice on the under eyes. I think this is a fabulous concealer for every day. I think it's just very easy to use and wear and work with, and if you just want to throw on a little bit of concealer and get out the door and you don't really want to do anything else, this could be great for that. This is also just great for that no makeup kind of look. I love it. It is definitely on the lighter coverage side. But this also really doesn't have a lot of product. This has 2.4 ml of product and a 6-month shelf life, whereas I have concealers in my collection that have 5 to 6 ml and a 12-month shelf life. So I really don't love that, especially given the price point. It's just very, very expensive. It has a shorter shelf life, and you really don't get a lot of product in here. And on top of that, like I said, it is a very light coverage. So it is going to be more of that no makeup, very light makeup type product. And if that's what you like, that's fine. But I also found that this didn't wear the best on me throughout the day. I did do a side-by-side of the Westman Atelier, not necessarily to compare the two, but more so because I just wanted to review both of them and I didn't have time to film 2 separate reviews. So I did them side-by-side, and the Westman Atelier held up all day, but this one I found that by the end of 8 hours, it was settling into lines that I don't normally see on my face, and it was starting to break down. The Westman Atelier was not. So I just don't feel like this wears this long. I do like this. I think it's nice. Like I said, I think it's a great everyday concealer for me, but I don't like the price point. I don't like that it didn't wear a full 8 hours. I don't like that it found lines I didn't know I had after a little bit. And you just don't get a lot of product. And I don't necessarily love the brush applicator either. So while the formula is nice if you like really light makeup, I do think there are other concealers on the market that can still give you that lighter coverage if that's what you're looking for, with a much fairer price point and that will last quite a bit longer. So I don't overly recommend this one. I don't hate this one. It just has a lot of things against it. It's a nice formula and I love how it looks when I initially put it on my under eyes. It's just that there are so many factors dropping this down. I know for me, I work from home, so I don't necessarily need my makeup to have a super long wear time, but if I think back to when I worked in the office, I would easily be out of my house for 12, 13 hours a day. So I really needed my makeup to wear 12 to 13 hours, and I'm really not going to want to invest my money in something that is going to break down halfway through my day. Coming in at number 14 is from Nars, and this is another piece of their 24 karat collection. This is their single shadow in the shade Gold Rush. So this is very, very pretty. This is just a single shadow. This retails for $22 US, 29 Canadian, so a little pricey for a single shadow, and it is just a gold shadow. That being said, it is very, very pretty. Perfect for a holiday. This with a red lip, so beautiful. But I did find almost an exact shade match from the Natasha Denona Golden palette. So if you have that one, definitely skip it. I could have skipped it as well. However, I do think it's really, really pretty. The formula is great. It's a little bit smoother than some of their other shimmers in their palettes. It is a true yellow gold. So it is very, very pretty, definitely very festive. So the quality is great, the shade's beautiful. I don't wear a lot of yellow golds on my eyes. So again, I don't necessarily know why I bought this, but the quality is great and I think it's really pretty, and I do think that I will end up reaching for this quite a bit going into the holidays. Coming in at number 13 is an eyeshadow palette I tried very recently, and this is from Urban Decay. This is their Moon Dust Space Cowboy eyeshadow palette. So I did pick this up. So I did post my review on this one very, very recently. This is just a star palette. It slides open like this. You don't get a mirror, and it retails for 65 Canadian dollars or 49 US. In my opinion, that's just way, way, way too pricey for this. I do think the packaging is cute. I think the formulas in here are really great as well. I am wearing the shadows today. I think the formulas are great. The packaging, while it's cute, it is a little bit young. and it's definitely going to be awkward to store. So that's just something to keep in mind if that bothers you. So you do end up getting 2 mattes in here, but these shades around the edge are mostly centered around this shade right in the middle, which is called Space Cowboy Rides Again. So it's kind of like a Space Cowboy 2.0. I did share a comparison between this Space Cowboy and the original. The original is a little bit more warm, whereas this one has a little bit more of a silver to it, and it's definitely a little bit more sparkly. Like I said, today I just have this shade here and Space Cowboy Rides Again, and I love how it looks. It just looks so wet, but it was so easy to do. So I love that. You don't get a lot of depth in here unless you go into No Sleep Club, but this is a sequin shade, so it's a brown with like pink and gold glitter particles in it, which isn't my favorite type of formula, but again, it's not a terrible formula. And also the Moon Dust shadows are really designed to be created with a very similar look. They're meant to just be popped all over the lid by themselves or with just a matte in the crease. They're not necessarily meant to give us those crazy intricate looks. So maybe this is great for what it is. So I really like this. I just think, like I said, the packaging is going to be hard to store. It's cute, and I think I will probably display this packaging. I do love how the shadows around the center are meant to flatter the new Space Cowboy Rides Again. I think that was a clever design, and of course I do love that new Space Cowboy so much. I do like it better than the original. So this palette is not a miss for me. I really do like this. I know they came out with a quad recently too, but 2 of the shades in the quad are also in here. I do think this is maybe a better value. This is $10 more, but you do get more shades. So it's just really expensive, and the packaging, though cute, it's really not expensive, and also you only get 6 shades. So I do think that is something to be mindful of. I think it's a lovely palette. I think it's really cute. I am thrilled to have the new Space Cowboy shade because I'm going to get so much use out of it, and I will definitely display this cute little palette as well. It's just that I do think it's too expensive for what it is, but I do think it will be a great gift. So coming in at number 12 is actually from Makeup by Mario, and this is the Surreal Skin Soft Blur Setting Powder. I have the shade 1 Fair Pink. So first of all, I do like the packaging on this powder, and the shade of this, though it says Fair Pink, it's not really the most pink. It's more of a translucent, and I love that. This is also a very finely milled powder, so I do love it on my face and under my eyes. I have found that I do prefer this with a brush instead of a puff. I was really on the puff kick for a while there, especially with my Givenchy, but I also mentioned I am trying to find a dupe for that one since they've ruined it, and I was trying this one. I do prefer this one with a brush. I do find it gives me more of an airbrushed finish, which is wonderful. Love it. So this powder is very lightweight. It's very finely milled. It looks beautiful on the under eyes. It does a beautiful job setting the face without adding any extra weight. It's a beautiful powder and a beautiful formula. My problem with this powder is not anything to do with the product itself, but it's to do with the packaging. So when you open this up, the holes in the sifter are actually way too big. This is like I said, this is a very finely milled powder, but the holes in the sifter are too big. So every single time you open this, you will always have a ton of product already in the cap. Inevitably, a bunch of powder goes everywhere as well because it's already right there. And then to knock some into the cap, it's hard because there's already so much waiting there. So I would just say when you first get this powder and there's that little sticky thing over top, don't throw that out. Just only pull it back a little bit, get what you need, and then seal it up. I think that is very important here because, like I said, the holes in this are just way too big, and as a result, it's a very messy powder, which is why I didn't use loose powders for years because I hate that messiness. I have learned to appreciate them, but I cannot stand messy products. So for that reason, I did drop this down. It's an excellent product. It's the packaging that's my problem. Coming in at number 11 is actually a nail favorite. So I do like to throw in some nail products every now and then because I always do my own nails. I always have my nails done, and I'm always kind of switching back and forth. The one thing I don't have patience for is regular polish. So I either have press-ons or gel. Sometimes I'll get into the nail wraps as well. I do have a brand that I really enjoy for those. But this month I got acquainted with the gel polishes from Nail Reserve. So they actually sent me these to try out, and these are fantastic. So I actually do have them on right now. This is in the red shade. I've had these on for a week and they look really, really nice. I absolutely love this blue as well. So they do have a swatch of the color in the lid as well. And it is true to what's in the bottle, which is huge. I did wear this recently as well. I believe I was wearing that one right before I left for vacation. And then a couple weeks ago, I actually had Rainforest Queen. This is like a really deep forest green, but it's super sparkly and beautiful. And this is just fall in a bottle. I love this so much. So these gels are absolutely fantastic. I have really enjoyed playing with them. I love doing my nails at home, but I used to have the biggest issue, and I still do with some brands, where when I do my own gel nails at home, like one of my nails will just entirely peel off. Not the nail itself, but the polish on one nail will just entirely peel off, and I have never been able to figure out that problem. I haven't had that issue with these, so that is one of the main tests that I have to put all gel polishes through, is if they're gonna do that, and these did not. So I've really been enjoying these. They did give me a code as well if you'd like to take advantage of that. I will leave that down below. So do feel free to take advantage of that code as well if you would like to, if you're into doing your own gels as well. I have really, really been loving these. Coming in at number 10 is actually from Too Faced, and this is a single shadow. This is their Disco Crush Multi-Use Eye and Face Sparkle, and I have the shade Mystic Pink. So Too Faced is interesting. Sometimes their products come in at the very bottom, but I'm noticing over the last little bit their products have been coming in a little closer to the top, which is exciting to see. But like I said, this is their Disco Crush Single Shadow. It does say it's a multi-use. I am absolutely not using this on my cheeks, but this is such a beautiful single shadow. It does feel a little bit chunky. It's definitely a very, very shiny shadow, and this is like a peachy pink gold shift. It is so beautiful, and this gives such a beautiful, beautiful sparkle to the eyes. It is so incredibly sparkly. It's so impactful, and I love this. I layered it over a product I'm going to mention very, very soon, and it just brought the look to life. So I've actually really been enjoying these single shadows. I think they did a really, really excellent job. Too Faced shadows have had such an up and down relationship. They used to be really good, and then they weren't so good, and then they got a little bit better, and then they fell off again, and then now I feel like we're coming back, and they're actually really great quality. So I love these little Disco Crush shadows. Coming in at number 9 is from Give Beauty, and this is the I See in Color Make Me Like You eyeshadow palette. So they went ahead and reformulated their eyeshadow quads. I never tried their original quads, and this is beautiful. So you do get some neutrals, but this is a very pinky burgundy and gold palette, and I actually love the formula in here. So the mattes in here are definitely a little bit more on the buildable side. They're a little bit more sheer initially, but you can build them up and you can get a beautiful pigment from them. The shimmers are also really, really creamy and beautiful and easy to work with. Like I mentioned, I put that Too Faced sparkle over one of these shades, so I created a look with these 3 over here, and I had this shade all over the lid, and this shade is also kind of like a pinky gold sparkle, but when I put that Too Faced on over top, it just brought everything to life, and it just looked stunning. But I do think this is pretty, and I don't believe this was too expensive. I think it was around $35, which is, you know, still a lot, but at the same time, I think they did a really great job reformulating these. I love how you get 6 shades, and it's very compact. I really don't know why they had these 2 giant shades. I think they could have even broke those down into 4 shades rather than 2. I really don't know that we needed them to be so large, but otherwise, I think this is a great formula. I think it's a solid formula. I think it's a great color story. I think if you're new to makeup or you just like a simpler look, I think these are fantastic. They do have another palette as well that's a little bit more smoky. So if that's more of what you're into, you might like that. But I actually really, really like the quality of these, the formula. It's just a beautiful, beautiful palette. Coming in At number 8 is from Huda Beauty, and this is the loose baking and setting powder in the shade Cherry Blossom Cake. So this is the pink option and this is the mini. I've really been liking this. I think this is a really great powder as well. I avoided picking up the Huda powder for a really long time because I heard such varying opinions. Everybody always said that this was the very, very best powder. But then a lot of people were also saying that it's too heavy for dry skin. I quite like it on my dry skin. I do tend to apply this one with a brush as opposed to a puff as well. But it really does smooth the skin. It really does lock everything in and just kind of give the skin an airbrushed finish. It does look very, very beautiful. It is also very finely milled. Like I said, I like this one and the Makeup by Mario so much. Huda's packaging is definitely better, even in the mini, but it was really, really close. This is a fantastic formula, and I would definitely consider picking up another shade of this if Givenchy doesn't pull it together. Coming in at number 7 is from Westman Atelier, and this is their Vital Skincare Concealer. I have the shade Atelier L1. I really like this one. So this one, like I said, I wear tested beside the Victoria Beckham. In the interest of time, I really like this one. The component on this one is very heavy, luxurious, beautiful. You do get a nice doe foot as well. This shade is a good match for me as well. You get a really, really nice medium coverage with this one. It wears all day long. It feels great on the skin. It blends out easily. It is a little bit thicker than, say, the Victoria Beckham or even the new MAC concealer that I've been loving so much. I think this is absolutely lovely. I don't find it to be a necessarily dry concealer, but I can definitely see where it might look dry on super, super dry under eyes because it is a very thick formula, but it does give such a beautiful coverage. It holds up all day. It blended out very, very easily, and it just looked really, really nice. I am wearing it today on this eye. I do have the Victoria Beckham on this side to kind of compare. I think you can tell I do have better coverage over here. They are very different coverage levels, but this one is also very, very pricey, but it definitely does a lot more than the Victoria Beckham. I think this is beautiful. I do have concealers that are a lot less expensive than this that do the same thing, but I do really, really like this one. Okay, coming in at number 6 is from Nars, and this is one of their new explicit lipsticks. So I did try out this formula in the most recent Sephora Favorites lip set. I don't put every single lip product I try from those sets in my speed reviews, only the new formulas. So for me, that was the explicit lipstick, and I love this formula. This goes on, it feels very balmy, it feels thinner, but very, very comfortable. And it is a cream lipstick, like I said, but you can build it up. So you can go a little bit more sheer or you can go a little bit more bold with it. But I love this because this also wore so long on me. And this, like I said, is a cream lipstick. I do not expect a cream lipstick to wear very long, but this actually wore so long. And I was also nervous because this is in the shade Unauthorized, so this is a true red. And I don't wear a lot of reds. I've been wanting to get better at that, but I don't necessarily wear a lot of reds, so I was a little bit worried. However, this did not move everywhere. It didn't slip and slide everywhere. It really just kind of dried down once it was on there for a while, so it still looked like a cream, but it just wore absolutely beautifully. And even when it did start to wear off, it did so with grace. And it was also incredibly comfortable. So I have to say, I love this lipstick. I love this shade of red. This is going to be such a go-to shade. My favorite red of all time is Dragon Girl from Nars. And Unauthorized is a tiny bit softer, but still a beautiful, beautiful red. I'm going to be really enjoying this one, especially as we get closer to the holidays, but also just in general, I really like this formula and I would consider purchasing a full size. Coming in at number 5 is from Makeup Forever, and this is the HD Skin Blush and Glow palette. I love these palettes from Makeup Forever. They're just so, so good. So one side of these are blushes, the other side is cream highlighters, and you can mix and match and make these work for you however you want. First of all, their cream blush formula is probably one of my absolute favorites because they do have a little bit of slip to them. They do feel a little bit more on the oily side, but they're so beautiful because they are very customizable. They can be very, very sheer, but you can also build them up to get high impact and a lot more pigment. So this really can work for such a range of skin tones. Like I said, you can wear each shade on its own, you can mix and match, you can use a blush and use one of these highlighters as a topper. You can do whatever you want. The possibilities with this really are endless. If you're not someone who has a lot of blush in your collection, something like this could be phenomenal and could really just touch every single blush category, and you wouldn't need to get anything else because this has just got everything. We've got some cooler pinks, we've got some corals, we've got some peach, we have a berry, we have a standard pink, and then we have like an orange and a plum. If you would use those, you really get every option imaginable in here, which I love. I love this as a companion to the Face Essentials that they released earlier this year because that palette is such a do-it-all palette. This one is also very, very lovely. I love this formula so much. I did rank it a little bit lower simply because there are some shades in here that I'll never use, such as these bottom two. But at the same time, when you're buying a palette like this that is supposed to be universal, that is supposed to work for all skin tones, you are going to run into that issue. So it's not necessarily a problem, but because I'm not necessarily going to use all of these shades, I did drop it down. I do think it would also offer a little bit more value to the palette if we could pop these shades out somehow. I don't know if there could be like little divots on the side so we can move them around, maybe pop some of these out and put them in the Face Essentials palette. I do think that that would offer a little bit more value and make this more customizable. These are not cheap palettes, but the formulas in here are so fantastic. I love them so, so much. So I do highly recommend one of these. If you were thinking of picking this up, I do not think you'd be disappointed. Wait for a sale, absolutely, but these are fantastic. Coming in at number 4 is a foundation I have really, really been enjoying. This is from Huda Beauty, and this is the Easy Blur Natural Airbrush Foundation. So I have mine in the shade 120B Vanilla. I don't mind the packaging of this at all. I don't mind a squeeze tube for foundation, especially because it does come to a very fine tip, so that doesn't bother me at all. This does retail for, I believe, $39 US, 50 Canadian. And this foundation is kind of interesting because we are just finally now getting out of the era of super, super glowy, dewy foundations. That is all we saw for years. And this one actually has a soft matte dry down. When you first apply it to the face, this is so interesting to me because when I first put this on, it looks a little bit dry. But then if I wait a minute or two, it looks like it sinks right into the skin and looks beautiful and flawless. And though it is soft matte, it is not too matte or too dry or too heavy. Nothing like that. It looks beautiful on the skin. But this is one that I need to trust the process, put it on, blend it out, and then wait a minute, because if I judge it right away, I'm not going to like it. But if I wait a couple minutes, I will really, really like how this looks. So I do think this is fantastic. I love that we're getting more into these more matte foundations. But this is not a 2016 super heavy matte foundation. Like I said, this is very, very lightweight. It does not feel like you're wearing anything on the face. And it does give a beautiful medium coverage, and it does also dry down to a very soft matte. So it's not going to be heavy or cakey or too much on the skin. If you have dry skin, this can work very, very well. This is the very first matte foundation I've ever found that actually works beautifully with my super dry skin. So I love this. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think Huda Beauty did such a good job with this one. And like I said, just kind of trust the process. Put it on, blend it out, and then wait a minute or two. And you will really, really like how it looks. Like I said, this is the first matte foundation I've ever found that works beautifully on dry skin. Coming at number 3 is from Nars, and this is the final piece of their 24 karat collection. This is the Pure Luxury Light Reflecting Cheek and Eye Palette. I have shade 1. They did come out with one for light to medium skin tones and one for medium to deep, which I always think is fantastic. And the packaging is, like I said, this very reflective gold. It is wavy, kind of like the Natasha Denona Golden palette. And then inside, you get 3 blushes, a highlighter, and a bronzer. This blush is very, very glowy. These 2 are more like a soft matte. And I love, love, love this palette. So this is their Baked Gelée formula that they tend to come out with during holidays. But at holiday time, they typically tend to come out with 6 blushes or a blush and highlighter palette. I absolutely love what they've done this year. I love that there are 2 different palettes for different skin tones, and I love that you get blushes, bronzer, and highlight because this really is a full face palette. And I love that. I think this is so fantastic. The bronzer shade isn't too warm. It looks beautiful on the skin. All of the blushes are beautiful. Even this one that is very, very glowy can still look very, very beautiful. I'm not normally someone who loves a super glowy blush, but this one actually is very pretty. These 2 shades I really, really love. They're just such beautiful everyday blushes. This one I've used so many times since I tried out this palette, and I love it. I do think the highlighter is a little bit more subtle than you might think. When you look at the palette, it looks like it'll be super glowy, but it is definitely a little bit more on the subtle side, but it is beautiful, and it does have a pinky tone to it. I think this palette's gorgeous. I think this is great for every day. I think this palette is such a great everyday staple. If you pick these palettes up every year, if you're someone who just picks up a palette during the holidays and then uses that all year long, this will be fantastic. I love what they've done with it this year. I love that they created a full face palette. I love that they've created 2 different palettes for the different skin tones, and the quality is fantastic. I don't know how many more times I can say it. I love this palette. I think it's so, so beautiful. And this is absolutely the standout of the holiday collection. The other products were fine, but this is special. This is easily my favorite holiday face palette that they've ever done. Coming in at number 2 is from Hourglass, and this is their Ambient Lighting Edit Dragon palette. So this was part of their holiday collection this year. There were 3 palettes. I only picked up the Dragon because I knew it was the one that would work best for me. So I do so look forward to the launch of their palettes every year. Last year I absolutely loved the Jellyfish palette, but this year I actually do like this palette a little bit more, with the exception of the highlight. The highlight in the Jellyfish is easily one of my favorite highlighters of all time. It's got this pinky shift to it. It's so beautiful. And this one is more of a gold, which I don't tend to gravitate toward. So other than that, these shades are fantastic. It does say that 5 shades in here are brand new. However, the shade that was listed as pre-existing, which is Dreamlight, is actually in their new Dream Edit Quad. And it's advertised as a new shade there. So if that's true, then that would make all 6 of these shades new. The bronzer in here I absolutely love, especially if you're on the fair side like me, because the last couple of years, the bronzers that have been in the fairest palettes have all been almost a little bit too warm, whereas this one has a little bit more of a cool undertone to it, and it is definitely much more flattering on my very fair skin. The blushes in here are also a little bit softer than last year's Jellyfish. So we do get this mauve and we do get a peach. The peach has a little bit more of a shine to it. The mauve is more truly matte, but they're definitely softer than last year's. I find last year's the mauve and the coral were very bright and very, very mauve. Beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous shades, but definitely a little bit more intense. These are a little bit softer, just a little bit more everyday in my personal preferences. And the finishing powders in here I also like more. I know last year I think there was Dim Light, which I believe is the more yellow tone finishing powder. I like that one, but I love the ones in this year's palette just a little bit more. I absolutely love, love, love Dreamlight. I think it's a perfect, perfect shade. And then this one is almost a perfect match for my skin tone. I love this Dragon palette so much. This is definitely my absolute favorite. I wish I could pop the shades out and I would pop the Jellyfish highlighter in here, and this would be my absolute dream face palette. I think this is so fantastic. It is so beautiful. I think they did a great job with this one, and I'm really glad I picked it up. I was debating on grabbing the Evil Eye palette. I don't love the packaging of that one, and I know I can mix and match, but I don't think I need it. I do absolutely love this one. It's just definitely my favorite they've ever done. And coming in at number 1 is a palette that I almost didn't pick up because I really didn't know that I would get the use out of it or that I would truly enjoy it. And I'm so glad I did pick it up. This is the Danessa Myricks Lightwork Volume 6 Freedom palette. And so opening this up, you can see the top is magnetic. This is a very, very colorful palette. I do have a full review on this one. I did some eye swatches, I created a look, and these shades, while very colorful, are just so stunning. Some of these whites along the top, they're not all white. They will shift according to which group of 6 they're in. So these two actually have more of a blue shift. These shift a little more pink. This one shifts into that green and orange a little bit as well. This is such a fantastic palette. The formulas in here are unreal. They're so shiny and reflective and definitely bold, especially for me, but they're so much fun to play with. And what makes this palette even more special is the versatility. So she's designed this so that you can use this in any configuration that you want. Like I said, this lid is magnetic, but you can also take this nameplate off, flip it around. It's actually a mirror as well. And then it is also magnetic, so you can use it to pick up one of the little 6 pans. And then this kind of serves as the lid for that. You can also stack them if you want to. And then each individual shade does have a little divot in the middle here so that you can also take out the individual shades. You can also take out one of the groups of 6 and put some single shadows in here. Whatever you want to do. The possibilities with this palette are truly endless, and I think that just adds so much value to it. So even though this was super expensive and maybe I'm not going to reach for it every day, this is so much fun. It definitely makes me feel so inspired. I love the shades. The quality is unmatched. It is such a fantastic, fantastic palette. I'm so glad I purchased this one this month. I am as shocked as anybody that it's my number 1, but I do love it. And like I said, this is one I went back and forth on. I did not get it the exact day that it launched. I thought, I don't need that. I'm not going to use it. And then by the end of the weekend, I kind of lost the battle and ordered it anyway. And I'm so, so, so glad I did. That is all of the makeup I tried in September. That was a lot of makeup, and it was also a very good month. It was a little bit more up and down, but it was a very, very good month overall, and I had the most fun testing and playing with all of these holiday releases. I so look forward to this time of year every year. I've always loved fall. It's always been my favorite, but adding in holiday makeup release season is just so much fun. So that is it for me today. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. What is your favorite product that you tried in the month of September? Did you try any of these? Let me know all of your thoughts. I love hearing from you guys so, so much. If you're new here, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you go. I do upload new videos every single week. Thank you again so very much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!